Hi, this is Dan from 123muse.com, and we've got a really cool tutorial for you here. We're going to connect Lightroom to a Flickr account, and we're going to create some albums inside that Flickr account. And why do we need that in 123muse, you may ask? Well, Chris has made a really cool new widget that creates a really cool looking, nice, crisp, clean gallery and adds that into your Adobe Muse website. And what you can do with that? Well, you can publish the pictures straight up from Lightroom that go straight then into your Adobe Muse website. Or you could set up a site for a customer, and if they were a photographer or someone that used Adobe Lightroom, or even just connect to Flickr, they could update the pictures themselves, they could send their new pictures, and it would automatically be updated inside their Adobe Muse website without you as the web designer having to go back in and add and remove pictures from their galleries all the time yourself. So let's dive straight into this. So first of all, let's take a look at how to connect Lightroom to Flickr. So I've got Lightroom here open. This is the new CC version, which is awesome. And you can see that I've got a bunch of different pictures, and we're going to connect to Flickr, and then we're going to make 4 galleries. Each gallery has 10 pictures each, and then those galleries are going to be included in the Adobe Muse website. We're in the library module, and Flickr is part of Lightroom's regular online services, publishing services. So you don't have to download any additional updates or third-party apps inside of Lightroom to do this. You just click on Flickr to set it up. And once that is open, you're going to want to click Authorize. Then click OK, and Flickr will pop up in your browser. If you're not logged into to Flickr, or you're with your Yahoo account, it will prompt you to log into that. We're already logged in, and our login is saved in this browser, so we'll click OK, Authorize, Launch Application. We're done with that. Okay, so that was it. That was us connected. Let's take a look at some of the options now that we have inside of this Publishing Manager dialog box. So we want to put a description in there if we want to. We could do that so that if we had a number of different Flickr accounts that we were connected to, then we could choose one specific one. Going to call this 123muse. So let's take a look at this here. So take a look at set Flickr title, use IPTC title. So we're going to leave that as that basically will pull the title for the picture from the metadata of the photo itself, and replace existing titles when updating photos. We'll take a look at that in just a little bit, but we're going to keep that the way it is. We'll leave the video stuff as it is, although we're not importing video right now. And all the rest of the stuff in here is grayed out, so we can't change the size of the pictures or anything like that, but that's just fine anyway. Okay, metadata. What kind of metadata do we want? Well, we're just going to leave the copyright only. Do we want to put a watermark on this? No, we don't, but that would obviously be handy for depending on who your customer was. In privacy and safety, do we want to keep this public or set it as private? We're going to keep this public, as all these pictures are going to be available and want everybody to be able to access them without having to type in a passcode. And that's it in the privacy and safety settings. So I'm going to click Save. And there we go. We've got that. It's by default created an album called PhotoStream, but we're going to create a couple of different albums. So we want to create an album for each of these albums that we have in our folders library. So if we want to add a new album, we right-click on the Flickr icon, and we have the ability to create a smart album, create a regular album, set an album as a target album, duplicate a published collection if we didn't mind that we had the same pictures in the Flickr more than once, add a selected photo to a specific album, publish now, mark to republish, and show in Flickr. Show in Flickr would open up our browser so we could see our Flickr pictures in the browser. Publish now, whenever you create something new in here, you click publish, and that's how it either sends new pictures up, new albums, or if you've edited a picture, that's how it refreshes that picture and makes sure that the current edit is up there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an album, and this one is going to be called Landscape. We could, if we had all our pictures selected, we could leave this as include selected pictures, and it would automatically include those. We could make new virtual copies of these pictures, which is the same as making virtual copies inside of Lightroom. But I'm going to uncheck that, and we're just going to create this landscape gallery. So now, once that landscapes gallery is created, I am going to select all my pictures by selecting the first one, then holding Shift down and selecting the last one. I'm going to drag these pictures over to my landscape gallery and drop them in there. And there we have it. That is ready to go now. Okay, so now I've clicked on the landscape gallery, and this has opened up a separate Flickr dialog at the top, and it's ready to publish. So I click that, and as we can see in the progress bar at the top left hand side, this is now publishing that collection up to Flickr. So that's fantastic, but as this is already doing this, it's working in the background, we will go ahead and start doing the same thing for the other 3 galleries. So we're going to create our bridal gallery. We are going to create our automotive gallery. And we are going to create our architectural gallery. And we're going to do just the same for these. I'm going to go to the architectural gallery in my folder section of my library and select all of those and drag those over to my architectural album. I'm going to go to my automotive, drag those over to automotive, go to my bridal, drag those over to my bridal. And now I am ready to publish all of those, so I'm going to go through and publish each one of those. Publish, publish, publish. Here we go. So now we can see at the top that the progress bar is saying that there's 4 operations going on. So it's doing all of that in the background for me, publishing all of those in the background. And that is it. That is your albums up on Flickr and ready now to be included into your Muse website via the widget that Chris has created. You're going to love how this works and how it looks. But we're not done just yet. We're going to take a look at another thing inside of this. So let's go to, we're on the first album, the landscape album. And while we're in the landscape album, let's just say we're doing some work with somebody. They say, hey, I need you to do a bit of an edit on this picture. Okay, so we're going to open up one of the pictures, edit it, and republish with the edit. So I'm going to double click on one of these. I'm going to click the D button to open develop module. I'm going to go to my presets, and I'm just going to go to, let's see, it doesn't really matter which one, but so one that makes a little bit of a difference. Aha, my Baja preset. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. There we go. That's updated. So say now that was something that the customer had wanted. Now that we have done that, we can see that now in our landscape gallery, in the library module, that it has pulled up that one of the pictures has been modified. So it's asking us do we want to republish that? Well, yes, we do. So we click the publish button. There's one photo to update on this. Okay, so we're going to click to replace that. And now what that's doing is now that's updating that picture on the Flickr album with the picture that I have just modified. Just as easy as that. Just as easy as that to add that picture in. Now, what if I wanted to add some more pictures in? Well, do it just the same way. I could say now, let's go into the architectural and let's drag one of the architectural pictures over to our landscape. So now we see that in our landscape module there, we have 11 pictures. Click into that. At the top there, we see that we have a new picture to publish, and we could go ahead and publish that. And this is, going to add one of the wrong pictures into our landscape gallery, but we're going to take a look at how to remove that picture. So there we have it. We can see that that picture has been published up to our landscape gallery inside of Flickr. So now let's take a look at removing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it and I am going to remove from collection. Now, when I remove a picture from the collection like that, I also have to press the publish button as well, because basically this is sending a message to Flickr that I want to remove that picture from that gallery, and so it needs to have the publish button. It doesn't mean that we're republishing. When we click publish at that point, it just means that by clicking the publish button, we're sending a message to Flickr saying, hey, update the gallery to the way it is now. The way it is now is that it's had that picture taken out of it. So now we have our pictures inside our gallery, inside of Flickr, and we've taken a look at updating a picture so that we can republish it. And we've taken a look at adding pictures to the albums in Flickr after they've already been published. And we've also taken a look at taking a picture out of an album that is on Flickr. So the next thing to do now is to go over to Chris and take a look at adding these albums into our Adobe Muse website and take a look at the cool things that we can do with that. Thanks for watching.
There, Chris here with 123 Muse. Now today we're launching Lightroom Deck. Now this is a really amazing tool. We've been wanting to publish something like this for a long time and we've finally done it. Now this allows you to manage huge photo galleries and it uses Lightroom and Flickr combined, because Flickr gives you 1 terabyte of storage for free, so you get a huge amount of storage there, and they've got really great album management. We're using Lightroom to publish our images, and then our widget, our Lightroom Deck widgets within Muse allow those images to be displayed and for users to interact with them. So let's take a look at this in action. Now this is a template, this template here and this alternative template. We show you how to build this in our project section of edition 6 of 123 Muse. Let's go ahead and take a look at Lightroom Deck in action. So here's our photo portfolio, and we can see that as we hover over these images, it's showing us the album and how many images are in those albums. We've got lots of control as to the size of these images, how they're laid out, and we can have more features added with rollover effects in future editions of Lightroom Deck, but we've got this really nice fade currently. So if we click into one of these albums, let's go to this beach album here, we can see that the images load up nice and fast, and we could have thousands of images in here. It wouldn't really matter because the images aren't being loaded into Muse, they're being loaded into the widget that's in Muse. So whereas Muse galleries can sometimes slow down once you start getting to 50, 60, 100 images, this will handle any number of images nice and fast. We've also got lazy loading built in, so if you do have a really big gallery, then it will just load the images as they come into view, which is really useful for huge photo galleries. So now we're in our album view here. If we click on an image, we get this nice lightbox feature. We can scroll through our images, we can use our automatic slideshow, we can go full screen, and we have this nice navigation here as well that can take us back to our album view. And because we're using Flickr as our storage here, it's really nice and fast because we're using their servers to push the images out, and we're using Lightroom to manage and publish our galleries. So once this is in your Muse site, You don't have to go back to Muse and add new photos. Everything can be done via Lightroom or via Flickr, and it will update your gallery automatically. As you add more albums, this will dynamically change the size of the album area, and it will push your content down. So you can see if we go into a gallery here, let's say you can go into this one with 15 images, the album area, the image area resizes, and all of our content resizes as well. So if you're a photographer and you want to display your albums, this is the best widget you can get for that. This does everything you want it to. Right now we've got more features to add in the future, but right now this is an extremely capable new service and widget from 123 Muse. So let's go ahead now, and we're going to start off with putting the widget, just placing it into Muse and seeing how it actually works. Dan's shown you how to use Lightroom to publish to Flickr, and then we'll show you how to use Lightroom Deck to pull those images into Muse. It's really easy. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part of this video. Hi there, Chris here. Now we're going to show you the Pagination widget, which is part of the Lightroom Deck package. I've just changed the background color from the previous video just to this slightly lighter gray so that we can see the ink interface that we're using here. And we said before that we have the ability to add additional widgets, to add additional features to the widget. Now one of the reasons we do that is because the interface here, if we added all of the features that we want to give you to one widget, it would be unmanageable. So we want to use multiple widgets. But the beauty of that as well is that we can make this, we can add components to the widget. We can add new features by dragging a new widget on. So if we wanted to do something just quick and fast, we can just use the Lightroom Deck. If we wanted to add additional features, then we can do that with additional widgets. So first of all, if we go to our library and we're going to go to our Pagination Manager and just drag that onto the page here. Let's move that back into place. We can see that we have this new interface here, and this is telling us, this is updating us on what's going on in this widget. So these two widgets are working together. Now we talked previously about the deck ID, and the deck ID is pertaining to the actual container that this widget is in. So we want to use the deck ID here, the U75, and that'll change when you drag the widget onto your version of Muse. It won't always say U75. That's the automatic user interface ID that Muse has generated for that particular rectangle at that particular time. Okay, so in this particular instance the deck ID is U75, so let's go ahead and type that into our deck ID in the Pagination widget. And in this widget here we're going to switch our pagination number of lines to 2. So after 2 lines we want it to start, and we want pagination to start so that we've got next and previous and the numbered pages. Okay, so let's take a look at what actually happens here. We can see in our preview we now have 2 pages of images, 2 lines of images, sorry, and then we start to get our pagination. Now let's see what we can do with our settings here. So first off, I'm going to select the entire Lightroom Deck. I'm going to go to our text options here, and I'm going to use Source Sans Pro and change the text to white. Now what that'll do is, because we haven't set up any specific font style, it just defaults to Arial. But if you take a look now, we can see that we're actually using our Source Sans Pro, and we're using the color white. So if we change that, for instance, let's go for some crazy font. Let's see whether this actually works. Let's say San Francisco, preview. We can see that the font is now being used in our pagination. So it's really easy to change the text on this widget, so you don't have to use anything else apart from the tools built into Muse. And you'll notice that the widget itself, all of the text here, was altered as well. So with that text now, we can go in and start making some changes to our pagination. So we want to change our border color. We'll leave that white. We're going to change the fill to this gray here, and we'll use the selected fill. We keep that as red. Fill transparency, that's really nice because if you've got imagery behind it or some effects behind it, then you can change the transparency of the pagination. We can change the padding as well and the item spacing. So let's say, for instance, we wanted to make this a single block. If we drop this down to 0, and we'll change our radius as well to 0 here, and then if we preview, then we've got a nice block instead, and we can see that as we click through, our block rearranges itself and so on. Now you notice that this doesn't seem to be selectable anymore. Now why is that? Well, that's because this widget here is a rectangle, and although it's not being seen, it's still being picked up by Muse as a piece of content, and so it's sitting over the top. So all we have to do is just bring our main widget to the front. That means that we can't select this widget now, so we just send that to the back again. So we can just work like that. But once it's set up to go, we won't need to keep doing that. So now we can see that we have our pagination here and everything's selectable. So that's really useful because if we've got large image galleries, we can very quickly add this pagination. We can style it up to match the look and feel of our site. And we're getting all of our feedback about our widget, seeing what color fills. So everything about the widget is in front of us there as a reminder of how we're set up. Really easy to use. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the icons manager to manage the icons that are used in the slideshow and the various parts of the widget to our own icons, so we can match up Lightroom Deck to the style of our site. So that's the next video, is the icons manager. Hi there, Chris here with 123 Muse. Let's take a look at the next widget, part of the Lightroom Deck suite of tools, and this widget is the icons manager. And what that allows us to do, if we take a look at preview this, the layout. Now I've altered the layout slightly so we can see some of the changes that we can make for this particular gallery. But if we hover over here, we see an icon there. When we click into the gallery itself, we see these icons here. And when we're in our light box, we see these icons here. Now those are built-in icons, so they're just default, so they're always there. You don't need to load anything up. However, you may want to change those icons to match the look and feel of your site. And that's what this next widget, this Lightroom Deck Icons Manager does. So let's drag that onto the page. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that our deck IDs match, so that anything we do here will match up with this particular instance of Lightroom Deck. So we're going to type in the U75, so they're all matched up. And we can see from our information panel here that we currently have no icons loaded up, so it's just using the default. So let's go ahead and load those up. So we've included some icons for you. So here we go, in this icons part of the downloads package, we have some instances here, and we've named them all so they should be obvious. So we've got the tool show, so show toolbar icon, so we're going to use that one there. The hide toolbar. I'm going to go ahead and load those up so you can see how we would load those up. I'm going to go ahead and load those up, and you can skip onto this bit. But as you can see in the icons manager here, it's showing us exactly what widgets, what icons, sorry, we're using in our Lightroom Deck instance. So it's good. It's a very useful panel to show us exactly what's going on with that widget. So I'm going to go ahead and load those up and be back in a minute. So we can see that I've now loaded all of those icons, and in our feedback panel we can see all of the icons that have been loaded up. I've used SVGs, but you could use PNGs if you want to. So let's go ahead and preview this now. And we can see that we're using our custom icon here, and if I click, we've got our custom icons showing here, our folder icons. We can see that those match up. We've got our little photo icon there, and if we click through to our actual light box, we can see that all of our custom icons are now being used, which is great. We can do some other things here as well. So if we go into Lightroom Deck here, we're going to change this. This here manages those icon sizes. So currently, let's change the size of the next and previous arrows. So let's put that up to 2. And the top close button, let's add some padding to that. Let's do that at 40. And that's the size, and let's set that at 20 from the top. Let's see what that actually does. So now when we click through to an image, we can see that we've changed the size. We've made our left and right icons bigger, and we've also made our close, our main close icon bigger as well, and we've positioned it. We've added padding or margin to the top and left so that we've adjusted its size so that it's further away, so it's a little bit neater there. Let's see what happens if we change those sizes again. Let's close this down, and let's change that to 4. Let's go huge. Go through to an image library, and we can see now we've got these huge arrows there. So we've got some nice control over there over the look and feel and size dimensions of how our lightbox works. Again, with this widget, because it's a rectangle in Muse, what we want to do is put it behind the slideshow. So once we've made all of our changes and added the settings, let's go ahead and arrange and bring this gallery to the front. So although it's not selectable there, all we have to do is send this the Lightroom Deck instance to the back, and we can select it again, or we can select it through the layers panel here. So we can see that we have our icons there. We could select that and we can go ahead. So it's very easy to still use. The reason we do that is so that this particular widget doesn't interfere or doesn't overlay the gallery and make it unselectable. That's sometimes an issue. So really easy to use. You've got complete control over the icons look and feel for your site. So combined the pagination, the Lightroom Deck itself, the ability to use photo sets, to use albums, to have all of the control over the look and feel, 100% width, the size of the thumbnails themselves, how it's laid out, the different looks there, pagination if you want it, control over the pagination, the icons manager. You can do a lot with this widget, and if you're a photographer and you need to show off your amazing photographs and you've got thousands of them, then Lightroom Deck, Lightroom, Flickr and Lightroom Deck in Muse allows you to build your own site and to manage all of your galleries